Hi, I wrote this monologue about a year ago now, I think, and I just thought I'd share it with you. It's called A Feeling. I'm not really sure what this feeling is. It doesn't happen often, but I can recognise it when it does come along. I just have trouble describing what it is. I mean, there was nothing special about her. Not in a horrible way. I just mean there was no big spark when we first met. It wasn't like I was transfixed and couldn't keep my eyes off her or anything. Not at first, anyway. It was actually when we weren't together that I felt anything at all. After the first time we met, it was weeks until I knew I was going to see her again. But the day before, I felt something. I think it might have been excitement or anticipation. Was she even going to be there? Or was I making a special effort with my outfit for no reason? I told myself I chose that outfit for me at the time. It was a new jumpsuit I hadn't worn yet, but I wanted to show it off to get compliments. It made me feel more mature than I had before. And I guess at the back of my mind, I hoped she'd notice. I hoped she'd make a comment, even if it was just nice jumpsuit. She didn't. But in that moment, that time we were in conversation, I'd forgotten about the stupid jumpsuit. All the way I looked. I was focused on the things she spoke about instead. The things she enjoyed, the things she laughed at, the questions she asked me, and the fact she never thought that I was weird or strange or overambitious in my answers. The moments of silence where we were both completely comfortable not speaking until one of us thought of something funny or interesting to tell the other. It was just so easy. I did wonder if it was because she showed interest in me, and that's why I have this feeling. I wondered that for a while until I reminded myself that I have conversations with people every day, but those people don't give me this feeling. But maybe that's because I felt like she actually listened, as in proper listened, and was invested in what I had to say. She was interested. It made me feel interesting. But I never felt pressured to seem more interesting than I actually was. I, as myself, was enough. I started to question whether she had this feeling too. She always seemed happy to see me and eager to talk, so I didn't think it was silly when I entertained the idea, just for a second. That was until I remembered she'd already mentioned her man. But I couldn't help but notice the forced voice she would use when she mentioned him, and she only mentioned him, never spoke about him, gushed or even ranted. And when she told me about buying a house, I noticed she never said, "We've just bought a house," or "Me and my boyfriend want to get a dog." It was always just her by herself. Even so, the small mentions he did get still kind of hit me in some way. It wasn't jealousy. I know what jealousy feels like, and this wasn't it. I can't describe it in an emotion form, but it was kind of like this fog or dull cloud that's made its way into this feeling. Not a big one though, and not thick enough to dull the shine of whatever this is exactly. It was probably after the third time I met her that I could recognise her voice from across the room, and it triggered something inside my head. Not like a light though, it wasn't that big. More like a musical note, like one single pluck of a guitar string. I wasn't obsessed. It definitely wasn't an obsession. Even though I recognised her voice, I wasn't longing to know what she was saying. I didn't need to know where she was going to be that weekend. And I wasn't counting down the hours, minutes, or even days until I was going to see her again. And then I wasn't going to see her again. It wasn't hard saying goodbye, or even painful not knowing the next time we'd meet. But maybe that's because we never actually said goodbye. I couldn't find her by the end of the day. The truth is, I didn't really look too hard. I thought it might have seemed odd if I went searching for her. She might have already left anyway. I did imagine it though. Her not realising I was done on this job until I told her. A quick, gentle but meaningful hug, followed by a small joke of, hopefully see you again soon, or maybe on the next one. I probably would have looked at her expectantly after that, as though waiting for permission to say something else, but then not knowing what to say and leaving on an awkward note. I would have cringed for days if that had happened. So maybe no goodbye was the best goodbye. Now, going back to when I said there was nothing special about her, I didn't mean that she wasn't unique or beautiful, because seriously she is. I just meant this feeling never had anything to do with physical attraction. I never once looked at her lips and felt the need or desire to kiss her. Even when our hands touched for a moment, I was waiting for that electric shock. But it didn't happen. If anything, it had the same effect of a cat brushing against you, wanting to be stroked, warm and endearing, but just for that second. I'm still trying to make sense of this feeling though. Because it's not fireworks and rainbows, no pain and anguish. It's not love, I'm not in love, I know that much. I can eat and sleep just fine. She's not on my mind every second I'm awake, neither does she appear in my dreams. But when I'm reminded of something she said, I get this feeling a bit like having your first sip of hot coffee in the morning, or treading on untouched snow, catching an appealing scent in the air, or a small gust of wind on a hot, humid day. This feeling is just that, a feeling. I doubt it will grow. I'm not worried if it diminishes over time. It had been a while since I felt something so honest and nice. Nothing was forced or overwhelming, nothing expected. Just a moment I can look back on with a smile.